AI will take over the real estate industry. I hear this every day, multiple times a day on several different types of platforms. I'm going to give you three reasons today that that's not going to happen. And some of them are huge. And I could give you more than three, but these are the top three reasons that AI could not possibly take over a real estate transaction. I know that somebody recently posted that they used ChatGPT for their entire real estate transaction. What they didn't disclose is they are already a real estate contract attorney. So they already knew everything that they needed to either ask or the information that they were looking for. So the average person doesn't know what to ask in a real estate transaction. And that is why they employ a real estate agent or broker. So the first number one reason that AI will never be able to take over the real estate industry is that real estate is based on negotiations and AI can't negotiate. AI is a learned, fed information database. So if you're not feeding that information to them, it cannot learn how to do the task. And with negotiations, this is the number one reason AI will never take over a negotiation based industry. Negotiations are uniquely human creativity. Every scenario is different, and every scenario calls for a different, unique, creative solution. AI cannot do that. And until it does have that ability, it's not possible for it to take over a negotiation based industry. So there is no way to train AI to handle some of the crazy scenarios that do come up in real estate. And I'll give you, for instance, my first transaction was in 2008. The industry was pretty bad at that point, and I was so excited. I had my first closing, go to the closing table. My buyers arrived from Connecticut in their moving van to the closing attorney's office. This is an estate that uses closing attorneys, not escrow. He arrives, he's got his van, his family, they're ready to move in, they want to pick up the keys. They get to the closing table, and the seller doesn't show up. The seller's agent doesn't show up. And we're all sitting there wondering, hey, what happened? And what happened was the seller was underwater. He couldn't come to the closing table. He didn't have the funds to close. He was owed more on the property, which was common in 2008. He owed more, and this was when the disclosure of the fact that you were underwater was not part of a real estate transaction. So he couldn't close. He didn't have the funding. What transpired after that was a customer that got insane, and he had his entire life packed up into that van ready to close on this house and purchase this house and move to a new state. Justifiably, his ego and his emotions ran what happened next. And in that instance, I was essentially held hostage in that room and not allowed to leave. And how I negotiated my way out of that is what AI can never do. It can never be duplicated again. The scenario will never happen in the same way, in the same situation again. So you can't automatically come up with an answer that would place you in the same type of scenario. Yes, that's an extreme situation, but I can tell you there are extreme, crazy little things that happen in every real estate transaction. So unless you've had that personal experience, you cannot figure out how to kind of move past it, get on, and solution for that unless you've had some basis of experience. And the variables and nuances that come with negotiations, I don't think that AI could ever possibly duplicate what the human mind can creatively come up with. Number two, the contracts, which are typically written by attorneys, are so ambiguous and written with such double talk that at times real estate brokers sit down and have a powwow to even understand the terminology and what the intent was behind the terms used. We have resources, we have in-house attorneys, we have state attorneys that are employed by the real estate commission of that state to decipher what the contract and the intention of the contract might have been. So for AI to try and interpret, unless they've had the learning of that specific contract for that specific state, for that specific scenario, whether or not you're in the buyer position, the seller's position, It would be nearly impossible for AI to try and answer some of the crazy scenarios that actually happen because of contract double talk. And for instance, a lot of homes sell with septic tanks. There are clauses in those contracts. If the septic tank doesn't pass inspection, what do you do then? And there are financial considerations, and it's based on the price of the house and the county that it's sold in, the city, the state. Like, there are so many different funnels of different information for every contract that goes into these little tiny scenarios that happen. Just the little tiny switch of the county or the price of the home or the percentage. It cannot be duplicated and fed in as a learned experience for AI. And number three, you could not keep up on a good day as a real estate agent of who, based on the time of the contract, the position of who's the offeree, who is the offeror, who is in which position, what the deadline is for that position, offeror, offeree. Is it 5 p.m.? Is it midnight? Is it 9 a.m.? Well, it depends on the terms of the contract. But watching new agents, especially, try and figure out who is the offeror, who is the offeree, what time it could the contract expire if you miss the deadline by 1 minute. It is a crazy little game that we all play in real estate, and staying ahead of a contract is one of the things that brokers really pride themselves on the most, is being able to stay 2 steps ahead of the contractual terms. That, again, is not something that AI has the capacity to do. Now, what I do think is that real estate agents, brokers, and firms that use AI technology will take over the industry because they're utilizing their time better. They're using AI to do, you know, write their contracts. They're using them to redline a contract. They're using them for all of the things that technology is great for. Um, but I don't think, and I certainly don't believe, AI will ever have the capacity to take on the human role of human interaction and human nuances and human creativity.